Yo, this is your boy, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only DT on DT's Unfiltered, Uncensored. The show that is streamed worldwide on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. And you can also find me on Instagram. All you got to do is search DT underscore Unfiltered, Uncensored. Go to my bio. Make sure you follow me. Click the link on my bio that take you to my YouTube page, and then you go subscribe to my channel and watch all my content. I have so many interviews I done did with a lot of top talented middle school players in the country. So today on my show, I got a special show today. It's about the Georgia high school basketball, which is something I've been following for close to 10 plus years, but I never really talked about it on it with the friends and the people I know around. But right today, I got two special guests who are very knowledgeable of the Georgia High School Basketball Association. They've been probably following for many 10, 15 years. Got know everybody, know the teams, know the records, know who's good, who's bad. So I wanted to sit down and talk to the gentleman about it to get know a little bit more about how the season looking this year, how the break went, how the second half going to look, and some little bold predictions for the second half of the season. So for my first guest, I want to introduce to the show. I've known this guy for a couple of years. He don't watch my AAU team play. I've been in a couple of events that he was writing, doing write ups for, and now he's with On the Radar. He's the lead scholar. He's the man. If you want to be known, you got to come to this guy, because once this guy writes you up, people will start checking you out. So what I want to do is welcome to the show, my man Keith Agran. Welcome to the show, man.
DT, thank you. Well, I beat the crowd noise there. Thank you very much for that intro there. And great to be on the show with you. Looking forward to talking some ball with our other guest who knows the ins and outs just as well, if not better than I do. So this is going to be a fun time tonight. And yeah, on the Radar Hoops, we got a lot of great things going on. Obviously, Sean Williams had that going long before I got there, but we're growing, and he has entrusted me with a lot of freedom to go out there and do my thing, which is my fourth year around town, and feel like I have established a lot of good relationships in AAU, and more so now in high school as well. But certainly travel ball is where OTR makes our hay, and I take a lot of pride in the work and enjoy being in the gym. Obviously, it's lucky to have this job, lucky to be in this gig. So great to be with you.
I appreciate it. And my second guest needs no introduction. This man is known on Twitter. He's very knowledgeable. I love the man tweet. He speaks his mind. And one thing I respect, I love someone who speaks their mind and don't bite their tongue. And that's why my show called DT Unfiltered Uncensored, because I don't hold back, which a lot of people know. Sometimes I've been told I had to take down some tweets I said before because I kind of went over the board. But I respect this man. I know he got a lot of background history on Georgia high school basketball, and he knows the ins and out of it. So I want to welcome to my show Joel Hillsman. Thank you for coming to the show, man.
Yo.
Wrong intro. Wrong button.
You done hit the wrong button, like you done called the wrong play at the end of a quarter. So see, I don't got man. I'm glad to be with you, man. Glad to be on with Keith. See Keith in the gym a lot. We talk a lot of ball, and I done took a couple tweets down myself as well. But I only know there's only one way to get to the top, and that's directly.
Right. I had to take down a tweet last season because I coached Zay Tobin's on AAU team, and somebody came to me and said, "Hey, you can't do that. Zay Tobin's name is attached to this." So I said, "Okay, take it down." So I took it down. So yeah, I understand that. So today we're gonna talk about Georgia High School. We're gonna talk about different aspects. We're gonna talk about the first half of the season, which I want to catch up with the guys and find out what team they think overachieved and underachieved the first half of the season. We're gonna talk about the top teams in the state of Georgia, how they did over the holiday break in a lot of these out of town tournaments, and how they compare against other top teams in the country, and who do they think is the best, who has the best talent out of the counties in Georgia. We're going to also touch on the second half of the season to predict how they feel best matchups coming up in the second half of the season and who got a lot of ground to make up. We're going to make some bold predictions on who they think got a good chance of probably winning state in their division and win a region, the basics in basketball. So first, guys, I want to talk about is teams that's underachieving in Georgia high school basketball. And I know you guys, we were talking off earlier. I had a couple teams that y'all felt like is underachieving right now. And I'm gonna start with you on Joel. Who do you feel like some of the teams that's underachieving and why?
Well, I think when you get to teams that are overachieving or underachieving, you have to understand what the team and program goals were going into the season. I think, and at the base of it, the coaching staff, they know number one, and then of course administration knows number two, and then well, I should say the coach, then administration, and then the players under the coaches. But if we had to really talk about teams, whether they overachieve or underachieve, I think it's a little too early to talk about either or. But the one that's going to come to mind is going to be Grovetown. Grovetown had a lot of good press during the summer. They played very well, especially in the live event during summer, which is really the only summer event you can really put meat and potatoes from. But they started off, they scheduled very strong, number one. And I think what has happened in the early portion of the season back in November, they won that state championship and they were the hunters. And now they were the hunted. And so it's different when you walk into a gym and you're the state champ. Everybody's going to come for you and everybody's going to get your best shot. And they built their schedule very, very tough, but they're still in position to still have a successful season. But the national gleam and spotlight is off of them. However, that doesn't take away from the learning lessons that they may see. So Grovetown is probably the team that pops out immediately because that's the one where everyone around high school basketball and that follow basketball, whether they follow it casually, that's the team that a lot of people heard good things about into the season. And then they won 2 games very tough. And then they went on a big, long losing streak. And so there's been a lot of different things there. So that may be a team that could qualify for that underachieving. But at the end of the day, it's still just the first week of January.
Okay. Gotcha. Keith, you have what team you got on your list that's underachieving?
Yeah, well, I certainly agree with Joel's Grovetown assessment. Having the chance to see them 4 times, I think, maybe in the first half here. I totally agree with the part about them, being the hunted now and not handling it terribly well. It's a totally different world. I mean, when they were coming out of virtually nowhere, although I will say that I had picked them mid-season to win 6A last year, and I always like to throw that in. That was at Hawks Naismith with a whole bunch of folks around. But anyway, that was just lucky. But they played great. They played great. And it's the same team with maybe 1 or 2 guys that were bench guys. But just a different world. I mean, I didn't have them on my list because that's a pretty, that's at the top of the list if you're really going to do it. The beautiful thing about what I do is the ability, really nightly, if I want to go to some of these other places around town and look in on teams that I've liked when I was looking at the preseason and who have underperformed a little bit, at least to me. And this one that popped out to me was Holy Innocents. And I understand you're going to look at the lineup and say, freshman, sophomore, junior are their top 3 players. And that's fine. You can certainly make a case for youth being the main reason. But watching them play, and of course they didn't have Caleb for a period as well, I think in the early portion of the fall, Caleb Wilson, the sophomore, 2025 top player there. I just thought that their 3 guys were so supremely talented that they were going to rise to the occasion, even, taking youth sort of out of it a little bit. Particularly Will Hopkins, who I think is having a really good season. I think Will is finally growing into what we saw inklings of the last couple of years. So again, it's no one person's fault on any team. And I think Devin Hutcherson is a monster star on the rise, whose name you're going to be hearing a lot more. He's a 2026 on that roster. So there's plenty of talent, but I just expected, and they didn't play a murderer's row schedule to this point. So played a good schedule, but certainly didn't play a schedule like Grovetown or some of the other teams have played in the early going here. So I think that's the team that popped out when I was looking around at it earlier today.
Keith, can I ask you a question? So when you looked at Holy Innocents, and I didn't have them on my list, do you think the transition from 1A private to 4A has kind of had a hidden effect on that? I know the head coach is not foreign to playing in higher classifications, but do you think that transition maybe could have had something to do with it?
Well, look, if it would be mental, obviously, right? Because they haven't really hit their region schedule yet, so you can't really blame it on 4A just yet. But if they're already worried about what they're going to see down the road in 4A, then that could be youth as well, being caught up too much in what's coming than what's in front of you. You usually attribute veteran players with being able to focus on the moment more so than young guys. But it's certainly going to affect their chances for a playoff run. Although, would they have been one of the favorites in 1A if they were in with Kings Ridge and Mount Bethel and a few others that are near the top of those rankings right now? They probably would have been talked about, certainly, and they're still going to be talked about in 4A just because that talent level is so high. They can go on a run if those guys all go off. I think that's a reasonable point.
So do you think because of Hopkins and Caleb and Devin that those three is kind of why you would quote unquote say they've underachieved?
Hey, look, I'm a talent evaluator. All right, that's just a title. But as far as how I view teams, there are great coaches in town that turn mediocre teams into very good teams. I totally believe that. But the bottom line is you got three, really good players, all of which I think are going to be high D1 players. Maybe Will slips down mid-major, possibly, but I think he can be a high D1 player. And even though they're young, and Devin Hutchinson is not going to be the same Devin Hutchinson in 3 years that he is now. I'm a talent guy. Like, if you got raw natural ability, you can do an awful lot of things that other teams are going to have to try and scheme to do, but may not have the ability on the floor ultimately to get it done.
I respect that. I think that's interesting you brought up Holy Innocents. I didn't have it on my list, so that piqued my curiosity though.
Good deal. Appreciate the follow-up question there. Yeah, hey, they could surprise us all again and come alive. Sometimes, hey, look, I know I'm coaching now the Mount Bethel girls team, and it takes time to get young players to learn how to play basketball. And, these guys don't play together in AAU, and so they're bringing them together into a new system and having all to adjust to different styles.
All right. And of Holy Innocents 7 losses, I would only say one would be bad. And which that one is really a stretch. But
that's fair. Absolutely.
Oh, so Joel, who else you have on your list for underachieving?
Underachieving? Tucker, Chapel Hill. I know Chapel Hill's got a new coach. They're going to be fine. Mike Artis is going to have them fine. Tucker really, I'm kind of pushing them on a little bit. They're 7-5. I know what they can do, but we heard so much about some guys on that team, and maybe they should be 10-3 versus 7-5. So I had them on there. Walnut Grove, I kind of know that they've had a different situation that has had to go through. I take nothing away from what Coach Witherspoon can do. He had to take on some tasks that he was not prepared to going into the season. And I think that Thomasville has, even though they've got a new coach and Coach Angry has done a very good job and he's scheduled very well, I really didn't expect him to be under 500, especially some of the losses. Although some of those losses they've made up with wins because of the way they schedule in that portion of the state. Those were a couple of other teams that I had as possibly underachieving. And I could throw Green Forest, but Green Forest plays everybody, so their record is never going to be glossy or glamorous, especially with the weaknesses that they have on that team.
Okay. Keith, you have anybody else over on that's underachieving on your list?
Yeah, I had one more, and this is actually, yeah, this was a tough one. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put him on the list or not. But Washington down in 2A,
Mm-hmm.
I really like Coach Whedon, and I like what they're doing over there. Again, this is similar in the sense to Holy Innocents in that when you look at the roster and you look at the talent, just from what we've seen when those players have been separated, playing away from each other. It doesn't always work when you bring them together. I totally get that. But these guys have known each other a long time. They're juniors now, with Shane Bynum being a sophomore, but he was with them last year. And I thought they were going to take a step this year. And they still could go on a run and win 2A, because 2A, for a team with that kind of raw ability, including their guards, obviously Cam Fountain and Shane Bynum are one thing, but they got some good guards. Noah Treadwell is really having a good season down there. They could still make a run in 2A, but I thought they would be, just in a stronger record position. They've had some chances. They played a few showcase games here and there. They've been out and about. I thought they would have a few more statement wins.
I got two teams. I got two teams I want to throw out at y'all. The first one I want to throw at y'all. What about North Gwinnett? Do you feel like they underachieving?
No.
Or you feel like where they at right now is where they should be at? Because I know they 6 and 8, and they ain't not. They doing good. I mean, they 3-1 region, but outside of region.
Well, they've scheduled very tough, and Matt Gardner has done a very good job there. And last year probably was the year that he probably needed to make that push. This year they've got Julian Wright, who wasn't able to play a lot, came off of injury last year. North Gwinnett, okay, they're 6 and 8. Maybe they could be 8 and 6. Maybe they could be 7 and 7. But when you look at the totality of the roster and how Coach Garner has structured his teams and how he runs his teams, and they're in a new region, I wouldn't put them in the underachieving category. I could understand why you would or how some could, but I think right now you're getting from North Gwinnett what you were going to get. And the thing about it is, don't be surprised if you look up and then they make a run in the region, because that region is not very strong and it's still there. But Matt doesn't have right now, as of today, what he has had in years past, but he didn't have it then, but he found a way to get them out of it. He put them in winning situations and winning sets and made strategic moves to make his team better. And I still think that he has the ability to do that, but he doesn't have the same type of team he's had in previous years.
Yeah, totally agree. Just doesn't have the same level of horses that he's had in the past. He's a terrific coach, a really good tactician. It just comes down to he's got good players. He just doesn't have what he's had before that he can fall back on. Certainly an RJ Godfrey level player. That's not there for him.
Okay, and the other team I want to throw is Etowah.
Absolutely not. You seen it? Have you seen Etowah's schedule?
Yeah, I did see the beginning. The beginning was crazy. The beginning of their schedule, like I looked at it like, wow, it was like they went through the gauntlet at the very beginning, and I was shocked. And then I know they got what's the guard name?
Brandon
Steiner.
Yes, he's amazing. I watched him play. I seen him on travel ball season, and he's a beast. He's definitely D1. But I didn't expect them to go through that schedule at the beginning of the season. Cause when I seen it, I was like, whoa, they got Green Forest, they got Wheeler, they got all these top teams at the very beginning of the season. But I wonder, was it a strategy? Was it a strategy for the coach to do that? Do you feel
absolutely?
Like okay,
absolutely. And he did a little bit of it last year. But what happened is they got tripped up because of consistency purposes. This year, I think they're going to be a little bit more consistent when it comes down the stretch. They're in a new region. Make sure that's understood. They're in a new region. And nobody in their region could play what they played in November and earlier December. Nobody. Don't let nobody tell you anything different. Etowah is still a dangerous team. They're not going to have a glossy record, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to fall into the 4th spot going in the state tournament like they did last year.
Yeah, Yeah, don't get too caught up. Just like Joel said, don't get too caught up in their record. It's been a gauntlet, a serious gauntlet. They lack size, obviously, to match up with the kind of teams that they went out and scheduled. And I give Coach Dassinger a whole bunch of credit for going out and scheduling hard. They'll be ready. They'll get that region is a lot very much theirs for the taking. I mean, there's a couple good teams. There's some decent teams in there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Cherokee County kind of teams that there will be a lot of local rivalries and a lot of local blood there involved, but they're going to be ready after playing that kind of schedule. They're going to be so ready.
Yeah, that might be one of the top 3 or 4 schedules in all of Georgia. Wheeler has a tough schedule. Tri-Cities played a very tough schedule. Kale has a nice schedule. Green Forest has a nice, but Etowah's schedule, it's different because it's Etowah and you don't see a coach and a team from that particular portion of the metro embrace that type of scheduling. And that's the scheduling that pays off. You know, they're in 6A. Don't be surprised you look up their Elite 8, their Final 4, and they got 7-8 losses, and everybody like, well, how does this 8-loss team? Well, look at them losses. And then there were some other things in there, and they battled through some injuries. They kind of, you know, played some checkers here in one game and then went and played chess in another game. And they took some blowouts, they took some L's, but it's not many people in that region. It's not many people in the state, and it's definitely not many people in that class that are going to take on what they took on. And what you do in November and December will show in February, mid-February on into March if you're able to play in March.
Right. Okay. So what teams do you have that's overachieving, that's doing better than everybody expected to do at this point in the season?
Keith, go first. I'm talking too much.
No worries. The first one that popped up for me is because I know the kids really well. I was hoping and rooting that they would have this kind of season, but it still surprises me because they haven't shown it yet, and that's North Cobb. I know those guys really well through the travel circuit around town. They played with us, played on other circuits. I got to see these guys a lot for the last 4 years. And I have to say, you know, even as a neutral observer, I'm thrilled that they're off to a good start. Now they have not played a murderer's row to get to here, but they have won. You know, I watched them against Pope the other night on the road. Pope was without their best player, their point guard, Zach Bolshoi, wasn't playing, so that's a factor for sure. But, you know, solid road win, easy game to slip up and get sloppy. They're all seniors for the most part. And Evan Daniel's playing like the Evan Daniel that I saw a couple years ago and said, wow, this kid, if he can just put it all together, could really be something. So I would say North Cobb has gotten out to this great start, and I didn't think I wasn't sure they had it in them, to be honest. But and Coach Gorsuch has kind of unlocked the screws on these guys a little bit, and it's a little bit more free flowing. He's letting them run and get out and do a few more things, which obviously they have the athletes to do stuff like that.
All right, Joel.
Good call. I like Evan Daniel, and you know, I really took a long time with North Cobb, and they're off to a good start. But yeah, that's a good one, Keith. I got to give you that one. Mine is Bainbridge. Bainbridge is 15-1. They played a heavy Georgia, Florida type of schedule. They've been consistent in the state playoffs, and they've been consistent with quality wins for how they schedule. 15-1, the lone loss is the reason why I think they're overachieving. And that loss came to Lowndes. And Lowndes, Keith and I have seen Lowndes, and if you're going to be a threat, that's a game you kind of got to win. I'm not going to overlook 15-1, but then they have a win over Westover, which Westover is very talented. So Bainbridge probably is the team that I think kind of hits that overachieving mark. And I'm going to say another team that I would not say they're overachieving, but they're playing much better and maybe a surprise to many, and that's Milton. I don't think many people thought Milton would come out and do what they've done. They've taken a couple of losses, had a bad region loss the other night. It was a bad loss. but Josh Dixon has kind of taking the reins there, and Seth Fitzgerald with his veteran leadership. So I think Milton, a lot of people wouldn't look up and think they would be, 12-3, 11-3 or whatnot, and to do what they did out west. They didn't play the greatest out west, but they didn't play, bottom feeders. So I think between Bainbridge and Milton, I think are the two teams that really look like, hey, all right, let me pay attention now over the course of 3 or 4 games, see exactly what's going on. So I would say Bainbridge and Milton.
All right, you got some, Keith? You about to say something?
Oh well, no, I love the Milton call. It was one I had down here towards the back half of my list. If we got really deep into things, I love that call. I wasn't expecting that too. Just real quickly, I have Riverwood in there as well. And the reason I have Riverwood in there is, as much as Buck Jenkins and I go back, we're both Jersey guys. We graduated the same year of high school back up in Jersey, and played against each other actually as well way back in the day. And I love Buck, and Buck does a good job there. But in my 4 years out on the road, I've always been stunned at how they've underachieved there with the kind of players that they often put out there. I mean, it was a mishmash of guys that were basketball only guys, and it was clearly a mix of guys that were football players or other athletes that they were trying to integrate. And obviously, look, Karis Bilal is the real deal, and I think that's the reason that they're 11-4 or wherever they are right now, something along those lines. He has become every bit the player that I thought he could. In fact, he's probably exceeded my expectations. He's so dynamic; it's just a blast to watch. And Jalen Leonard, the 2025 there, has really stepped up as well. And those two guys are elite players, so that speaks to most of their success. But credit to Buck for finding whatever the formula was with this group, and of course those two guys playing terrific.
Keith, let me ask you something, because I've always respected Buck. I've been over to Riverwood for games. I've been over there during the state playoffs. We played with Miller Grove. I've been over there, and to me, and I may be far off base. I may get caught stealing. Do you feel like Buck has did what he has been able to do at Riverwood in that area, and has been as good and as consistent as he's been able to be at that school?
Well, are you saying that you, in the sense that he should be doing better, or he's exceeded where he should be?
I would say, in my eyes, for him to consistently have a state tournament team, he'll go 2-3 years with a state tournament team, then he'll have a drop off, then he'll have another 2 years with a state tournament team. For them to consistently be in the state tournament, first round, second round, Elite Eight and deeper. And I think that's a harder job than people give it credit. And I think he's done a very good job there. That's why I say, with your relationship and how you view ball, I just wanted to ask you that, because I think Buck has done what he could do and possibly could do more. But if he does, it's going to be a testament to how he's stuck with and understands the school, and this is what I've got to be able to do to remain competitive or be competitive.
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, look, it's as an international charter school, it's a little different than your average public institution. So, but he is drawing from an area there in that Sandy Springs area, not necessarily as diverse or as loaded, quote unquote loaded, as it might be in other parts of Gwinnett and Cobb, for example. So, yes, that's a fair point. And Buck is a really good coach. By no means am I implying that in previous years where I have just sat home and said, wow, I thought this team was better when I sat in the gym and watched them, and I'm surprised they didn't, they missed the states. I think they missed the states a couple of years ago, or even my first year in 2020. They missed it, and I was like, wow, this team's really good. Why, what happened, kind of thing. But hey, there's all kinds of things that goes into that. I put them on the list more because again, kind of like North Cobb, and because I know Karis Bilal and Jalen Leonard again from the travel scene. My views do get skewed a little bit by my personal rapport with these people, but at the same time, it's a very objective view, thinking that Riverwood has done better than I expected them to do. But it's almost certainly because of the otherworldly talents of Karis Bilal.
I would say this. Overall, I think Buck Jenkins, year after year, whether it's 19 wins or 20 wins or 12 wins, I think year to year, he maximizes his roster.
Well said.
I have a team I want to throw out to you all about overachieving because I'm surprised at their record. Southwest DeKalb. They live in the one right now. Any thoughts?
I haven't seen them yet. I know a few of those kids again from travel, but I have not seen Southwest DeKalb. Excuse me. So I'm not. Hey, I think it's an interesting story, and I actually have them on my schedule in January when they play Columbia, which I think is going to be a very interesting game in mid-January. I'm looking forward to getting. Actually, you know what? That's next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, the 14th. Headed down there, if I remember correctly. That'll be a great litmus test, obviously, for them because I love what Columbia is doing and has been doing for the last few years.
They gave Columbia their first loss. They actually gave Columbia their first loss of the season.
Yeah. Jury's still out on Southwest DeKalb.
Okay.
I've seen this movie before.
Okay. All right. So, hey, moving on to the other topic is, I noticed. I look at a lot of high school teams or schedules playing against weaker teams. Then when they get to region play, it doesn't shows up. It like they lose most of their region game, but they got a winning record against weaker teams. How do y'all feel about that? Do y'all feel like that actually hurts the team, hurts the players, mess up the reputation of the school? Because everybody looking at, oh my God, our team is 7-0, but when they hit region, all of a sudden they lose this, they lose that one. Now they number 5 and number 6, and they're not duplicating their record. How do y'all feel about that?
Yeah, take it, Hills.
I was gonna let you roll with that.
I know. Hey, I know where you're going. I think we're going to be in agreement on this one.
Well, I feel like when you schedule, there are different dynamics to scheduling. There's coaching, there's administration, and then there's school districts, and each of those still you can schedule good enough. And then what does the program need? I'm a firm believer in, out of 25 games, if you are really about developing young men, getting them to the next level, preparing them for the next level, out of those 25 games, you only schedule 3 wins. That's it. Everything else is your region and non-region. You only schedule 3 non-region wins. And sometimes if your region is larger than others, it's only 2. 1 home, 1 away. Program goals, coaching goals, those things kind of come into it. But at the end of the day, if you're developing talent, you're preparing it for the next level, what do they do against equal and greater competition on a consistent basis? If they're beating up on inferior teams and they're 10-6, and 5 of those 6 losses are the teams that are equal or greater than them, what are the 10 wins? That's just me. What do you do against equal and greater competition? You could lose against equal and greater competition and still fall into the way of we're developing and we're getting our guys ready. I know several teams right now, 5 of them, they are way under 500. Nobody's going to be talking about them this year. Next year, in the next 2 years, you're going to be talking about them because the program knows, look, if we want to have success with this group of young men, we got to play, and we got to play people now. We got to get them used to playing in certain situations. And I'm just a firm believer of it's what you do against equal and greater competition on a consistent basis. Going 23 and 20 of your wins are wins you should have had, and you went 2-5 against teams that really pushed your buttons and made you, not me.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% in agreement with Hills on that one. I've gotten a more intimate look at this now, coaching the Mount Bethel girls, because I didn't put this year's schedule together. I put some of it together, but the teams that I added were teams that we had no business being on the floor with and got wiped. And I'm already, forget next year, I'm already seeing the benefits of the level that those girls faced as we head into January region play. And that, look, I had the benefit of being in the business and being a former coach, and I knew that these things were going to be ugly to sit through, but that our girls with the right, hand holding, so to speak, we're going to come out of the other side look better, and we're definitely going to come out better down the road. Yeah, I just am not. You cannot expect to have your team ready. If your only concern with your program is your own ego and how you appear to the people around you, the community, which is important, and the school, and the school mandates that you need to do a certain thing. And I haven't been coaching in the coaching world long enough here in town to know that. Certainly Cal Boyd at Mount Bethel is not going to mandate anything like that. But I mean, if you're getting that kind of pressure, then yeah, go ahead, get yourself to 11-1 as fast as possible. But it's certainly not going to do your kids any good, preparing them potentially for a chance to play at the next level, or an early playoff loss is only going to look worse if your guys aren't prepared. So it's a risky proposition. You better have either a lot of confidence in your kids to step up at the right time, or a lot of confidence in yourself as a coach that you're going to be able to coach them through some of those tough moments when a team that has a gaudy record comes up against a 500 team like Etowah. You face Etowah in the playoffs, and you just get the heck out of them all you want. And if you're not as good as they are going to wipe the floor with you. So there you go.
Yeah, and then like I said, I know certain areas in the state where, no matter what, they have to play these three teams. And that's 6 games right there. And so they may have 4 other games, I'm just as an example, that they can go and schedule somewhere else. And it's tricky because, okay, I'm playing these 6 games, and I'm probably going to wind up 5-1, 4-2, maybe 6-0. But I got 4 more games over here. Do I want to risk going 2-2 or 1-3? Wait, do we have to get on the bus and we can go and we might get to play this team or that team? And I know one coach that said, "Oh, I told him I'm going to schedule all 4 of the games y'all gave me on the road in showcase events or in tournaments so that they are ready for the bus ride, the hotel, and all of that, because we don't know where we might have to go and stay." And at that point, hey, they might wipe the floor and go 6-0 with those guys that they have to play, and then they may come back 1-3 against those other guys. So now you're 7-3, but getting on a bus in February or staying in a hotel in February isn't new because you've done it in November or December.
Cool. All right, I like what y'all said. I had a team I would go call out, but I'm not even gonna do that. I'm move on. I'm not even gonna do that to them because I know it's a team that actually schedule a lot of week games just so they can look good.
Who is
it? I know I didn't want to say it because then I'm gonna be. I mean,
there's 452 teams that play basketball. There's a lot of weak schedules.
It's not even a big team. That's the thing about it is they a 4A or 5A. I'm not. I don't want to say it because I know first thing I'm gonna say they go hit coach. Where they go call me coach? Why you call our team out like that?
Okay.
Yeah. And I think Keith knows.
Right, so evidently, they got a weak schedule.
Oh yeah. And Keith probably know who it is too because he know how I feel about this coach.
Let's move on. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about some top team. Who do y'all think has the strongest team county-wise in the state of Georgia? Fulton County, Cobb County, DeKalb, Gwinnett. Or we go down even further to Henry County. You got the old counties down there. Who has the strongest top teams? I'm gonna say it like the county that has like that to me like gravity. Because I'm gonna say in the last, I feel like this. Prior to COVID, I felt like Gwinnett was one of them top. But now I feel like Cobb has taken over the spot as like having some of the top teams in the state of Georgia.
If we're gonna go overall, this is an interesting year. I think it's a balanced kind of year because historically DeKalb has been very, very good with Miller Grove and Green Forest and Columbia and Southwest DeKalb. Stevenson has played a couple of times. This year, if I just had the basics solely on what's happened between November and January, I'm probably gonna have to say Cobb County because of Wheeler, because of McEachern, because of Pebblebrook, because of Osborne, because of Walton. I probably would have to say that more so than maybe a Gwinnett who's got Norcross and Grayson, and a surprising Buford. Henry's got Eagles Landing. I think Dutchtown will come along on the Fulton County going to be in that conversation. Hughes with Rory was always going to be in that conversation. Fulton, you got Fulton County, and then you got APS. Mays has tried to play very well. With Keith talked about Washington earlier. If I wanted to talk about Douglas County, you got Alexander's in that conversation. New Manchester's okay. Chapel Hill's playing okay. If I wanted to say Forsyth, I don't think they're that strong, but East Forsyth, what Bracco is doing, what Denmark is doing, Gwinnett probably got the most high school outside of the cab. So, if I really had to say it this year as of right now, Cobb probably is the strongest, and a lot of that has to do with Wheeler, McEachern.
I agree. Keith?
I'm actually leaning Gwinnett on that. I've seen a lot of Gwinnett basketball this year. Now, look, the top of Cobb, if you're going to go the top of Cobb versus the top of Gwinnett, I mean, you're still talking basically Wheeler, McEachern, Pebblebrook versus Grayson.
I didn't even say Kale. So are you saying that Gwinnett is deeper?
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of headed. I think, and certainly they have more high schools, like you said. It's a bigger pot. I've watched. I know how good Wheeler is. I only saw him once. I've only seen McEachern at full strength once. They're both tremendous. 1 and 2, I think, in Cal. So I mean, my argument doesn't actually make a ton of sense when you think that if I actually think that Cal, McEachern, and Wheeler are the 3 best teams in the state, well then why wouldn't Cobb be the best county? Well, I think when you get down into Gwinnett and you get to Archer and you get to an improving Peachtree Ridge team, which I think is on the rise under Coach Griffin for sure. I think Collins Hill has been solid. I think Keyshawn Hampton going over there has been good. Buford's very up and down. You want to love them, and then this senior class kind of like makes you scratch your head. But then they come out and they play with all kinds of guts and fire. And Buford, of course, made a great run.
Would you put Lanier in that conversation?
Say again?
Would you put Lanier in that conversation as well?
Well, I like, DT and I were briefly brought up Lanier before the show and we're just chatting about it. I think, I didn't think losing CJ Highland was going to be a good thing, quote unquote, good thing, but it may end up being a good thing for them. Certainly with the 2 Florida kids playing, or Garcia in particular playing at the level he's playing at now has changed that outlook of that team a little bit. But I think the 2024s that are still there, are playing really, really good basketball as well. So Coach Mayweather's doing a terrific job there. Jury's still out on whether they can make a playoff run or not. But
I'll give you that because now that I think about it, once I think about the middle of Gwinnett, Duluth is not going to make a lot of noise, but they may beat somebody. Providence Christian has been pretty good. Shiloh's game for a game. South Gwinnett is having a very positive season. Archer, what they're going to do. Collins Hill.
I left out Norcross. When I was doing the top of each
Norcross
Norcross.
Yeah, Grayson and Norcross start the conversation. So, I just from there, I think it is about that thing, and I think Discovery has done better. Look, Coach Kaysen at Brookwood has been off to a solid start. Let's not Let's not ignore that.
And I apologize for the geographical question here, but is Mill Creek in
Yes.
Gwinnett?
Yes, it
And
is.
I don't know if we have a question that covers Mill Creek, but I love what Matt Welch is doing at Mill Creek, man. That is the team that I think can really do something, because Trajan Greco has been unbelievable this year. He's looking great, and with half a season.
And on top of that, I'll throw in Seconder, which is the new school, which is right there between Buford and Mill Creek. And their coach comes from a well-known coaching tree. So they've gotten that program off to a good start. You cannot have any expectations as a new school, but he's been able to do some things and put them in a positive mindset. And he didn't have to schedule big. He just had to lay some foundational groundwork. And that's why sometimes program activity is there. So, okay. All right, I get it. I still think Cobb okay, but I would say Gwinnett depth. And yeah, okay.
Yeah, y'all making me second guess that now, thinking about when y'all just now the teams y'all just named, because when you think of Cobb County, you don't think of a handful of teams, but when you think of Gwinnett, you think of more because they have more school.
Well, you got Wheeler, McEachern, Cale, Pebblebrook, Osborne, Walton. So there's 6 right there. And that's a strong 6 because Walton shoots the ball. Keith, they can shoot the ball out of the guard spot. Nobody's business. Luke Flynn he can shoot it. And Pope, they kind of. I just think the top of the top though, and we just talked about them. Northside Christian is there. So versatile.
Got you on that. So I've been keeping up with some of the records of the teams that's been traveling out of state to go to tournaments, and part of it, actually, Joel, you actually had me look into one when I think was it Arkansas? What did almost a lot of teams was it? It was Arkansas, I think they went to, or some. I know Green Forest went there, and I think McEachern went there. Was it Arkansas?
Green Forest, McEachern Newton. That was the King Cotton Classic. Yes.
Okay. And I seen the scores, and I was shocked to just see a Georgia team losing like that. And then I see Wheeler travel. I think they went to Florida for a tournament, and they didn't perform so well against out of town teams. So how has the top teams in Georgia been, in y'all eyes, been performing on these road trips during the holiday?
Who would you classify as the top teams in Georgia?
Wheeler. I would actually put Green Forest there. McEachern, I put them there.
Okay.
Newton, I think they won the top teams.
Okay.
I don't know. Did Milton go out of town? I would put them one of the top teams. Did they go out of town this holiday season?
They played 7 games on the West Coast. Yes, they've been out of town.
Okay. So yeah, those are the top teams I would look at. The other teams I think a lot of
Kale would be in that conversation.
Kale would definitely be in that conversation. So how do y'all feel they performed when they was on the road during the holiday season?
Go ahead, Keith.
Well, admittedly, I didn't see a ton of, I saw the results. I mean, obviously I saw the end results, but I didn't see a ton of the teams play any of those games. Obviously, I didn't do any traveling I did follow, though, a lot of teams that were going down to Florida, for example, for holiday break tournaments. And I'll just give you my reaction. I mean, even some of the middle of the road teams, whatever you would call middle of the road, good teams, but not great teams, solid teams from Georgia, from the Atlanta Metro, for example, took some lumps when they left the state. And I do a lot of defending, obviously in the spring and summer, about the talent in Georgia and how elite it is. Certainly when the conversation comes up against Georgia, obviously guys from South Carolina will ask me, well, we got this, and this guy, and so, we can match up to Georgia. And so we get into debates about that. And then I'm down in Florida a lot. So that debate is a very popular one as well, Florida versus Georgia talent. So it sometimes does surprise me when Georgia teams that I like, that I respect, who have played good hometown schedules, go out of state and take some pretty bad lumps. Not being in the gym, I can hardly speak to the details of it, and I would need to talk to the coaches as well. But to see some of the results, some of the margins of loss, was a bit surprising to me this past Christmas break.
Georgia got hit upside the head.
I was being diplomatic.
Wheeler, listen, they lost, well, they just lost to Sierra Canyon.
And
4 of their 5 losses were the top 15 teams. And they possibly could have won 2 or 4 of those. Wheeler's still very good. Newton, when you really look at the totality of Newton's schedule, they should have beat Duncanville. And they played Norcross a week later and lost that game in overtime. They went out to Arkansas, and they the thing that bothered me about Arkansas is you're not going to tell me McEachern and Newton are going to go out there and lose their opening round games. I'm just, and then Newton, they lose and they got to play Bishop O'Connell. That's a WCAC school. And Bishop is not that good. They're probably going to finish maybe 3rd in the WCAC. Gonzaga and DeMath in the WCAC. But then they turn around and then they had to play Sidwell Friends, another DC area school. And something in the milk wasn't clean. But nonetheless, Newton beat Bishop. Newton beat Sidwell, 2 teams that I saw live and in person my last trip to DC. Green Forest got their schedule changed while they were sleeping. And, then they had to go and play Windermere, who I had seen play this year. McEachern, I don't know. That whole thing was flight cancellation, tournament type of things. In the end, I think Georgia did as good as they could do. I think Green Forest went 1-2 and Newton went 2-1. And I think McEachern split their 1-1. So all total in that particular event was okay. But, Pace lost to Christ School. Norcross lost up in the Arby's Classic, which is always a good event. I was at an event in Florida where no GHSA school won. Not one of them. But here's another thing, and I can't wait to hear Keith's thought on this. Keith, Georgia mandates the shot clock now. And we know if you play out of state, certain tournaments, they're going to use the shot clock. But I think what really is getting attention now to how the game of basketball, and I will say this in Georgia, and I will give everyone at the coaching level credit for this, is the foul count now. The foul count resets after each quarter, and that may seem like a subtle thing to the casual fan, but I think that's a very big dynamic now in games because now with the shot, Georgia players are used to playing with the shot clock, and they're used to been playing with the foul count. Now, I'm not saying that that's why they're getting beat, but I think that's a part of it now when they travel out of state, specifically this year.
Oh yeah, any change in the rules? We've been mind numbing our Georgia guys to get ready for these changes, and then they're going to go somewhere else and play under the old rules and with no shot clock. Absolutely, I think that's a factor you have to take into consideration. Hopefully, we get to somewhere soon where these other states, or at least the ones around us, are implementing the same kind of system that Georgia has put together here. But it's it's a factor, no question about it. I mean, I've seen, I've seen like Pinson Valley from Alabama, a really good team from Alabama, a couple times now, come in, put some hurt on some Georgia teams, and shot clock, no shot clock, fouls, no fouls. I mean, but still, it's when the teams go elsewhere, that's definitely a factor. The coaches have to kind of revert back to their old ways a little bit, and you're dealing with a different set of officials. Not that I'm seeking to blame any losses at all on officiating, but it's certainly you get Ace Bailey with 2 quick ones, in Arkansas, and he's on the bench, and the lineup still a lot of talent, but losing Ace Bailey is losing Ace Bailey. So it's it can be something of a game management thing for coaches in out-of-state situations that can be something they have to adjust to. Totally agree.
And Keith, let me follow up with this, DT, if I may. Let me ask Keith this respectfully. Do you think, and I think Georgia has some outstanding ball. I do. I'm from Georgia, but I've always felt that the DMV, everybody knows my thoughts on the DMV and in Chicago public schools, those two really are the cream of the crop. And then Georgia public schools carry the meat here. But do you think that with the migration to the cities and the media coverage that is now here, do you think that kind of subtly has an effect on some things where guys just aren't maybe used to eighth man coming off the bench getting into your stuff, and he don't care about whether he gets a write-up or not. Coach said, come shut that guy down. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go eat my pizza and I'm gonna go get on the game. Do you think that kind of has some? I'm just asking you because I don't really know if it does or not. But we know in Georgia, per se, there's very good coverage of high school athletics, high school basketball, and the high school athletes that play basketball.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate in this market. We're saturated with good coverage, good quality, qualified coverage that we get here. And like some of those other markets you mentioned, and Florida, for example, because of the size of the state, there's a lot of diamonds that slip through the rough down in Florida, and then I see them, in a travel ball game where they are destroying somebody from Georgia, and whether it's defensively or, offensively. My first year with OTR opened my eyes a little bit from where I was more localized when I first started as a scout here, and a little bit in awe of the Georgia athlete compared to what I had seen just as an observer, a regular observer living in the Northeast, for example, which we know obviously still has tremendous basketball. So I got a little bit of a wake-up call, to be honest, this past spring and summer, seeing many, many more. And I'd done a little bit of Midwest travel my last year with Prep Hoops, where I got to see Chicago, and I got out to Indianapolis, and I got out to the Midwest, and boy, those guys were good, man. Chicago in particular opened up my eyes, man, to just me not being overly exuberant about what we have here in Georgia. We have good teams. We have really good teams, really, really good players. But to say it's the first or second best in the country and then try and back up that argument, that's difficult to do because there are some really good markets. You said DC as well, and of course New York, New Jersey. That you have to. But yeah, we get them a lot of hype, man. We're all over social media. We're all in the gym all the time, and they're getting a ton of coverage, man, which is great for our kids. That's what we do and what we're trying to do for them. But a lot of good basketball.
I agree with you. And DT, just for the record, I still think Georgia is one of the top states in the country. Illinois might not be as strong as Georgia, but Chicago is stronger than Georgia. And the DMV may be well smaller than the metro area, but it's better than Georgia. But that doesn't mean Georgia doesn't have good ball. North Carolina has excellent basketball. South Carolina has very good basketball. Like Keith, I've been spending a lot of time in Florida now. And Florida 7A is pretty doggone good. And Florida has improved. Between Florida 7A and Florida 3A, I would like to take the final 8 in each of those classes and play the final 8 in Georgia just to see how good it really would be. And Alabama has risen. Tennessee is creeping up. Of course, we know they play good ball in Memphis. So good ball everywhere. But I do think Georgia is a little bit better than what some people say nationally. But I warn the people in Georgia, we're not as good as we think we are, especially when we got to lead the state and play. But I think we can hold our weight in certain cases. But overall, I still think Georgia's up. In other words, like in Keith's business, you got to come here to recruit. And that's pretty much it. Because if you're not coming to Georgia to recruit, you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
What you think about Louisiana? You think they got good ball?
Very good. Scotlandville has always been very good. Warren Easton has always put out good talent. I don't think it's as strong as Georgia pound for pound. There are a couple of teams in any state that could walk in and beat a top Georgia team, right. Of course. But I think I hate to say this, I'll use this example. If I'm playing in the ACC night after night after night, if I'm playing in the Big East night after night after night, and I'm playing in the SEC night after night after night, and you're not, and you come in and beat one of my okay, got it. Can you do it night after night after night? And I think Georgia sometimes has, even though we say, oh, that region's weak, the region structure, although I wish we would go to districts, the region structure is still firm at the public school level. Now, there are a lot of states, California, New York, Illinois, the DMV, they are much stronger on the private school level that Georgia can ever touch, period. But public school-wise, Georgia ball, it holds its water.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right, we'll look question time. So I'm gonna jump ahead on a couple things. What region games matchups are y'all looking forward to coming up in the second half of the season?
I'm looking forward to Pace McDonough both times. I want to see how it continues to grow. Everybody knows what they lost, and then I want to see what McDonough has to do in region play against a brand, a coach, and a known team that doesn't really matter what's on their roster. I got to see that a little bit when they played Fayette County last year, and they swept the regular season, and then Fayette County won in the region tournament. What are you going to be able to do with Pace 2 times, and then you got to go and play in their gym and then possibly see him again? So I think Pace McDonough may be the region matchup I'm most interested in seeing the remainder of the season.
I've got a couple. I like a Southside matchup too with Dutchtown and Eagles Landing. I just want to see if Dutchtown can, when you find the fortitude, because the talent is there, and some of it is young and raw in that junior class of theirs. Their big guys are still on the come, so to speak, but they're seniors, and I gravitate towards teams that are senior heavy, because I think that come playoff time, that's obviously an advantage, particularly at the guard spot, to have experienced seniors, particularly guys that have played together for at least one season before and are back all together again. So I'm, I know the Dutchtown guys well again, and I need to sometimes separate my personal feelings from my predictions, so to speak.
Corker knows exactly what he's doing, man. Corker is outstanding.
Yeah, and that's a huge factor. And while I think they had a clunker or two in the first half, they might have even won, if I remember correctly, one of those quote unquote clunkers. They just didn't look very good doing it. You got to kind of chalk that up to some early season stuff. January, they're going to dig their nails in, I'm sure. And then I think that's an interesting matchup. And then separating myself, myself. And my personal connection to Mount Bethel, I'm intrigued in AD1 with Mount Bethel, and because they've traveled out of state a couple of times now, so they're getting some very interesting seasoning. First in Tennessee, and then now in Louisiana. I think they're back, but they've done a couple of out of state tournaments. They got Kings Ridge, they got Mount Vernon, they got Pisgah, all of those, and they're only playing one region game against each other because of the size of the region. So those are going to be massive games down there. And I find AD1 to be very difficult to pinpoint. If I was going, the champion is almost I would say if you asked me to put money down on it, I would say the AD1 champion is probably going to come out of that region. So it'd be interesting to see, how they take each other on in those one-off games that they're going to be playing this month in early February, and whether Mount Bethel, in particular, that has some talent, can kind of overcome this small school, nobody knows who they are mentality, and make a deep run.
I will also add Grayson Newton in there.
I was just about to ask y'all that one. I was just about to throw that one.
I would add Grayson Newton in there, but you could almost add any matchup in that region in there. Archer, South Gwinnett would be important. Archer, Parkview would be, so that region there is pretty, so those would be some good region matchups I'm looking forward to. I would say I would be honest. I would be, if I'm not, then I'm not being me. Wheeler Osborne is going to be very interesting, and Wheeler Walton. I expect Wheeler to win both of those, but how does Osborne and Walton play? How do they put themselves in position to say, hey, look, we're going to give everything we got at Wheeler and grow from that and let everybody know, look, we're coming. We're still coming. I also will say, I'll give you a good one on the Eagles Landing one. I think Eagles Landing is now in that position where they've got to be the horse with blinders on. As long as they are looking straight ahead and going game by game, I really think they're going to be tough to stop. But the Dutchtown call is very good. But don't forget, Keith, Jones County in there, which is a team I had that quote unquote could be overachieving. But Buck Jenkins been down this road before as well. So those would be other matchups within region play that I would be most interested in.
You know what? I noticed I did not see. I wonder why we didn't see this. A matchup between like Grayson and Norcross. I didn't see no schedule. They didn't schedule each other. I would love to have seen that during regular season.
Why?
Or even Grayson versus Wheeler.
Why?
Because I would just like to see that'd be a great matchup just to watch them play each other. But I don't see it on the schedule.
You might see it in the playoffs. Those two 7A teams, they're not going. Grayson and Norcross have played before, but Norcross was kind of putting together different parts for the ship, and Wheeler and Grayson. Now you talking deep playoff rounds now.
So you say that, you say they want to save that for the playoffs for everybody to see, not during regular season.
No, I'm not saying nobody's saving nothing. I'm just saying you might get the matchup you want to see a little later. It wasn't scheduled. I mean, great. Look at what Wheeler has done. I mean, Wheeler's only played 3 Georgia teams. And Grayson just came back from Miami, which that didn't go too good for them, but they've rebounded since. So
I'm gonna tell you one game.
Go ahead, DT.
I'm gonna tell you one game I was really disappointed. I think they met in the second round of the playoff last year when Pebblebrook went against Milton. That was a bad second round because it was like two of the top.
That was the Elite Eight. That was the Elite Eight.
Okay, Elite Eight.
And that was at Pebblebrook.
Yeah, I was at the game. I went to the game.
Yeah, yeah, I was there.
And I felt like
Milton went back and played Pebblebrook this year during the regular season and won that game. And I give Milton a lot of credit. They've got wins, true road wins at North Gwinnett and at Pebblebrook. True road wins. That's why I put them in that. I ain't gonna say overachieving, but got to pay attention, man. You go into Pebblebrook and win, man. You know how hot they keep it in Pebblebrook.
Oh yeah, I was there at the game, boy, and it's packed too.
How hot they keep it. Locker rooms too, Hills. Locker rooms are hot.
Keith, it's the modern day Boston Garden. But you're supposed to know that.
It's just like how Miami Dolphins do their stadium down there. They said they put the visiting team on the side where it's burning up because I was watching the game. It's 120 degrees on one side, and Miami side was 80, like 85. It was good over there. They was over passing out and everything. I said Miami knew what they was doing, how they had it set up.
Yeah, I called a football game. I experienced that firsthand. But it's called home court advantage, and you use those things to your advantage. That's why winning on the road, going back to scheduling, it's nice to play in tournaments and showcases, and you're playing those on neutral floors, and basketball is a tournament sport. But sometimes to really test your team, you got to go play a regular season true road game in another environment, a hostile environment, because you're gonna face that in the state tournament. If you're a 2 or 3 seed, up until you get to, you're not gonna get no neutral floor until you're in the semifinal. So playing true road games in hostile environments, or where the crowd is right there on top of you, or where this ref came from that association and this association and that association, you have to be prepared for those things. It's just like if I was to say any team in the metro area, once you got to go south of Macon, you should know what the deal is. You should know this.
Right. Okay. Is there a team that y'all see out there that's actually going to make state? You got a good feeling they're going to make state playoffs that haven't made it in a long time, or that nobody never thought they would make it, but they got a good chance this season? That's showing out.
Keith, you can take this one.
Yeah. What was it, DT? Say that again. Which one of these is that?
Or do you see a team? It could be just one team you see that actually got a great chance of making a playoff push that haven't did it in a long time, or probably never actually been in state playoff, but they actually have a good squad this year that's competing.
Yeah. We actually brought up two of those already. I love Mill Creek. I just think they had ability last year. I saw them a whole bunch last year, and it was the same scenario. They got their football players late. I saw them without their football players, and then I saw them with their football players. And I kept saying to myself, "My goodness, would I love to coach this team because they got some horses." And now they got a coach, and no disrespect to the previous coach there, but Matt Welch, working under Greg Phillips at Berkmar Elite last year and possibly longer than that. I'm not sure how long he was there. He can flat out coach. He's got them doing. He has talk about unleashing the horses. Yeah, he runs great sets. He's got good stuff, but he is letting them play basketball. And of course, he's got some big burly size that he can go to as well. You know, Trajan Greco. You know, he's 10 seconds off the football field and he's dropping 25 on in a game I was at back before Christmas. And Nate Arrow, senior Nate Arrow over there, always a gifted athlete. He's playing, real basketball now. He's got him playing real well. So I think Mill Creek for sure is really intriguing. And then Walton, not historically, at least during my tenure as a scout here in town the last 4 years, a playoff juggernaut that you would look at. But they're the real deal with Luke Flynn, absolutely. Real deal. They have other pieces. Luke is clearly the centerpiece, but they have other kids that can play there. Many names I think that people may not know that well, that will possibly be keys for them to make a deep push.
I'm not going to say they're going to make a deep push, but I'm paying attention to them. And Oglethorpe County has struggled for a long time. But Larry Brown's the head coach down there. I have not seen them. I will be seeing them in the next couple of days. But I'm getting trusted information from Oglethorpe County, and that may be a team that round and they, if they're in the second round, that might, I was going to make a joke. I was going to say they may hang a banner for that, but they're not. But that would be a great step in the direction that Larry Brown is wanting to take that program. So Oglethorpe County would probably be one if I had to pull one out of my barrel. Another one would be Greene County. Coach Wright, championship experience coach from the assistant level, and has been given the keys down there at Greene County, and is grocery shopping. So he could do some things there. And another one probably, I'm gonna. That's a good one because I know they've been to the play a couple of times. And they haven't really they've gone deep, but what model up in Northwest Georgia. Ice Griffin does a very good job handling business in the post there. So they made a deep run last year, but consistently making a deep run. So Oglethorpe County, Greene County, and Model I think would be some teams you want to look out for. And then that region with Eagles Landing, Dutchtown, Jones County, Warner Robins, Union Grove. Either one of those five could make it, and somebody could slip in there and do something. I think Eagles Landing is head and shoulders above those, but Jones, Dutchtown, Union Grove, and Warner Robins, they still will have a say in maybe seeding. So that'll be an interesting region to watch and see if someone can slip in there.
Cool. It was one team before I jump into the last segment. I noticed I was doing research. And I said they have never, ever in the last since 2006 had a good season. Clarkston.
No, they're not. No.
I'm just really trying to figure out why has it never been a season. Even I'm from DeKalb County, and when I was growing up,
but then you should know about Clarkston.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like it should have been at least one time. They had one season they went 500. One season they went 500.
DT, the only time Clarkston is going to go 500 is if they play Cross Keys the entire season.
You would think
That would be some shrewd scheduling right there.
You would think something would have changed at least in a couple of years. Not every year, y'all 4-21, 3-22.
Why do you? No, see, I'm very serious. Why do you think Clarkston should turn around and make a championship run?
Well, I ain't saying championship run. I'm just saying have a better season. Huh? Not even a playoff. Just at least hit 10 wins. Get at least 10 wins under your belt. 12 wins at least. You don't have to. I mean, I ain't telling you to win state, but at least somebody should have, because I cannot see a kid who's a good basketball player saying, you know what, I'm going to go to Clarkston. Oh, yeah, I'm going to stay in Clarkston and finish my basketball.
You just answered your own question.
Yeah, but I feel like they need to hire a coach that actually going to at least try to turn the program around.
It's not the program. It's not the school. It's the district lines of what Clarkston can pull in.
Yeah, it's pretty simple in that regard.
I mean, that's not being funny. Now, I won't play them in soccer. That's a different game in soccer, but no, the Clark, come on, man. I thought you were serious. And there's no disrespect to the players at Clarkston or the principal or the coach. Man, if I lived in the Clarkston district, Stone Mountain is right over there. Tucker, Miller Grove, Stevenson, Columbia. Come on, man. Clarkston. You can put if you're gonna say Clarkston, then you might as well say Clarkston, McNair, and Towers. You should have just put them all in the same sentence.
Well, that is true. Okay. Hey, it's time to make some bro predictions real quick. So, let's start off with 4A. Who do y'all feel like got a good chance to win state or get to the final two?
Go ahead, Key.
Yeah, no, he knows where I'm going on this. I've been riding the McDonough train too long to jump off right now. I have to sort of separate. I want to objectively separate their results against Atlanta teams of higher classifications. Just to say that, not that they could have won those games. They probably should have beaten Buford, and they probably should have won last night. But when they get into the meat of 4A, I think from a depth standpoint in the region, if you just look at it, I think it's theirs for the taking if they can straighten out some of the things that have plagued them this year and in the past.
McDonough's in the conversation. Pace is there. Miller Grove is better than expected. And don't forget Fayette County. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Yeah, they're good. They're good.
Oh, by the way, Clarkston is in 4A if you needed to know that.
Good stuff.
I was at the
Beautiful.
game. I went to watch Miller Grove play last night. I was at the game. So,
Chester does a great job. He hasn't won a championship, but he's done a great job. He's consistently had a competitive team, and he's mad he didn't make the state tournament last year for the first time in forever. So, you know, Miller Grove is going to be they're going to have a seat at the table, and they got to fight and push you playing musical chairs to get there. I don't think they'll win it, but they're gonna give someone a problem. And Westover's in 4A as well. But I think 4A comes down to Pace, McDonough, and Fayette County.
Okay. What about 5A?
Eagles Landing and Kale.
Yeah, there's not too much argument there. They are seriously. I mean, that's you're talking about two of the better teams in the state right there in the same classification, obviously. So yeah, no argument there.
All right, 6A.
I got a whole bunch of question marks down here next to 6A. I'm having a hard time. I couldn't even DT, I didn't even want to write a team down. I literally have 3 question marks next to 6A right here because, you want to say Grovetown's going to get it together, and obviously they should probably go through their region and get to the number 1 seed out of that region, and that could leave them with a bracket that's favorable potentially. But I'm a little concerned about what I've seen, from Grovetown to this point. So they're not just an easy write-in, and again, that's why I had that there. And I know that Rory's going to turn Hughes around by the time playoffs get. They're just not playing their best ball right now, but every year they always are in the beginning of February. So, and they haven't had John McQueen, and now they do have John McQueen. So that is massive for them, I think, to get him in shape and ready to go. So yeah, I mean, it's very difficult for me to pin down 6A. I'm dying to know what Joel has to say about this.
Grovetown still is in the conversation. Will Alexander be able to make a run? Will Etowah scheduling help them? Can St. Paris and Marist, can they do more once they have to get out there? Those probably are the ones that pop off at the top of the mind from 6A. Brunswick, Southeast Georgia, very good, playing an okay schedule. They scheduled for their talent. They don't have got a lot of sophomores and freshmen, and they got 1 senior that's carrying the mail. But don't be surprised if Brunswick kind of steps up and makes a deep run out of 6A. But Grovetown, Alexander, Etowah, and interested to see how Marist and St. Pius what they do to come out of 6A. I think 6A has become more of a interesting thing, and then the other team in 6A that I don't care what you say, they're going to be there, and that's Jonesboro.
Oh yeah. I've been seduced by Alexander in recent years and wanted to just pencil them in because they are finally playing somewhat up to the potential of the talent. But that's another one.
Consistently.
Yeah, no, they never do, and that is the. And I love those. I love those guys over there, and you just look up and down the roster, and you're like, it's a who's who of travel team stars, but that's not an automatic recipe for winning a title by any means. So St. Pius was really good. St. Pius was really good when at Lemon Street.
Yeah, they were. But I'm sorry. Let me go back, DT, for 5A. You still got to put Tri-Cities in there. It's Eagles Landing and Cal, but Tri-Cities. Right now, everybody kind of forgot about them. Go back and look at their schedule. You won't forget about them come February. So I'm sorry. I that was a bad foul on my pass by not putting Tri-Cities in that 5A bunch.
Gotcha. Okay. And the cream of the crop, 7A. Who's the bold prediction?
Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, it's a tough one, obviously. I could, there could be crucified for not picking Wheeler, but I'm just going to go out and I'm just going to say at full strength, playing their best ball, it's McEachern. That's who I think Ace at the top of his game, and frankly Moses Hips, I think is somebody that you got to think about. If Ace can't get the last shot in the game, I'm fully confident and put it in Moses Hips' hands to knock down a big shot for you. Some of it's gonna end up being the bracket, obviously, as we saw with Wheeler last year in 6A. So I mean, a favorable bracket for somebody always is something to think about, which is why I'm not such a huge fan of the predetermined brackets. We can do another show on that another time, but it's I just think overall at their best, it's McEachern for me.
McEachern's in the conversation. I still feel it starts and ends with Wheeler. Can Wheeler win it? Yes. Can Wheeler lose it? Yes. McEachern, Grayson, Newton, I would think are the only very strong 3 that can push Wheeler in 7A. I just feel like Wheeler is just gonna be a lot more for any of them to handle when that goal ball is sitting on the other end of the court, and that's what they're playing for. But McEachern, Newton, and Grayson all in that conversation, and then I would give Pebblebrook a very outside shot, and maybe Milton an outside shot. But I mean, I'm gonna keep it basketball. It's got to be Wheelers to win, it's Wheelers to lose, and if you want them to lose, you got to go beat them. And I think McEachern, Newton, and Grayson probably have enough to beat them.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I do appreciate y'all. Y'all gave me a lot of knowledge, a lot of things to think about. Real quick, Joel, have you ever coached basketball before? I thought you seemed like you're a coach. I'm asking this for a reason.
Yes, not on record, but yes.
Okay, I was gonna ask you if I could get you the job at Clarkston, would you take it?
Would I take the Clarkston job?
Yes.
Actually, I would take the Clarkston job. I would take that job because all I need is 5 people.
And so he
turned it around in a hurry. I'm on board with that.
No, I wouldn't turn it around in a hurry. I just make sure I win enough games to be able to get gone. If it was a launching pad, yeah, I'd take that job. Because you know why? There'd be 0 expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would. Then you take the job and turn around and they be 16-9. See, there you go.
I would not be there the next year.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I do appreciate it. Like I said, y'all taking your moment out your day. I know y'all got busy schedules, and I know Keith, you had both of y'all had a busy weekend. I was actually going to try to get in that showcase y'all was at. Media there, but I decided to check out some middle school talent yesterday. I wanted to see how the middle school kids looking because they don't really get the spot. So I'm trying to check them out.
I think middle school should be middle school.
Yeah, but sometimes they need a little encouragement to love.
You got bad people in high school that can take direct stuff. How you gonna drop that down to middle school?
You say what? Say that again.
Some people struggle with taking direct stuff in high school. See, that's part of the problem. Don't no middle schooler need to be shine no light on. Let me wait till you in the 9th grade. If you shining like that, then 9th grade you on the varsity and you averaging 6 points or whatever. Let's not rush them. They got to learn the game, man. They got to develop.
I'm not rushing, but I still think they deserve some attention. I ain't saying they deserve the full spotlight like high school team, but I feel like a lot of these platforms don't really talk about the middle school kid. And you got some middle school kids showing out, and you got teams out here like Grace, and you got Bay Creek. I mean, they've been destroying the Gwinnett County Circle. I'm actually doing a show with Bay Creek and Crouch because hopefully if the season go right, both be undefeated when they match up against each other at the end of January. And I'm looking forward to actually sitting down with the boys and the coaches and stuff like that and just doing a show because I show my appreciation for them and just to see the talent.
Hold on. Now you're trying to guilt trip me. Have I attended a middle school game? Yes. Oh, how many high schools is it? It's 452, right? In Georgia, right?
Right.
So I'm gonna just safely say it's 1,000 middle schools.
Yeah.
Man, can't even keep up with 452 high schools.
Exactly. See, high school, so it's not people doing middle school that says, okay, let me jump.
And I'm not keeping up with 452 high schools.
Right. And I'm not keeping up with 1,000. I'm not keeping up with 1,000. I just look at what I see on social media and go check out.
I'm messing with you, man.
I know. But no, I just that's my purpose, just to open another platform for them and just to showcase them and tell them I appreciate them and try to get them a little shine and see how they looking right now. So that's
that. So that's why you and Keith, that's what y'all been working on. That's that 13U, 12U. Okay, I got it.
All right, don't lump me in, man. I know there's a market for middle school coverage, and obviously the high school coverage is saturated. And with OTR, we have middle school stuff. But hey, I'm with you, Hills. I don't like to spend a lot of time down there. Those kids are going to look nothing like they look now when they get to be grown. And so And the social media has taken this middle school coverage stuff and blown it up and taken it places that doesn't need to be going, turning these kids' heads in different directions and whatnot. I'm cautious about it. I really am. Hey, and I will go on record. Sean's sending me to Ohio in February for a middle school showcase in Columbus, Ohio. But that's business because we're going to be playing in Cincinnati in the spring. So we're shaking hands and giving obviously giving them the coverage that they need out there. But I don't necessarily take a lot of joy in it, to be honest with you. I like, because the basketball that's being played is going to look at Caden Allen. Caden Allen at Grayson doesn't look anything like he did last year as an 8th grader. He's advanced. He's different.
Nope. But I respect what DT doing. DT, I had to give you a hard time, man. I had to.
I'm not killing you either.
One of my favorite middle schoolers is getting spot minutes right now on a varsity, and I was told the head coach of that varsity said, "Hey, Hillsman, what are you doing?" Because I was at his varsity practice, and he said, "Hey, man, you need to come over to the middle school. I got somebody you need to watch." And that's the only reason I went over to the middle school game. And then I said, "Coach, he gonna be on varsity?" He said, "Yeah, he gonna get some bump on varsity," and he's getting bump on varsity this year, and he was averaging 19 or 20 in 8th grader, and right now he's averaging 3 to 5. It's a different game at the varsity level.
Right, and I agree. So
I'm not knocking. I wouldn't be being here if I wasn't giving you a whole.
Oh no.
You know what? If I don't hear about the middle school champs from you, it's no fault.
Well, I'm gonna tell you one person that y'all definitely, I think, got a great opportunity to become very talented is Blaze Johnson. I think he's a very talented 7th grader.
He has an opportunity. An opportunity.
And love the family. They great and everything. So I think I like Blaze Craft too. I think he got a lot of potential in the future. So we'll see how they pan out.
I like them freshmen at Padale too.
What's that?
I'm being funny because last year, 8th grade, they were cooking like gas, and now they're struggling. But I like them. I'm messing with you, DT. DT, you shouldn't have let me knew that one, bro. Not on Al. I'm on But call me. I'll go to a middle school game with you.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate y'all taking a moment, sit down with me. Before y'all go, I want y'all to tell everybody how they can follow you on social media. And definitely, y'all need to follow Joel. Y'all definitely need to follow him on Twitter.
Man, come on, man. Why do they need to follow me? I am. My New Year's resolution was to just do scores and put the heavy out.
Yeah, you must already broke your New Year's resolution already.
Now don't
after midnight.
Don't change a thing, Joel. You're one of the best follows in town, man. Don't change. Don't let anybody change you, man.
There's a lot of coaches that I talk to that love to follow you. They say they read your stuff.
Yeah. Typos and all, because you can't edit tweets. So.
Typos. Yeah. We gotta get Elon Musk to give us an edit feature on there, man. That's key. That's key.
I wish you could edit a tweet. And
honestly, since we're having a little fun, I'm glad there's not an edit feature. I'm actually glad, because you know why, Keith? If the I is the O and the O is the I, you just want to change that. But the explanation I heard from Twitter about not getting the edit features because they didn't want it. I forget this big long dictionary word they used, but it made sense to me. And they want to keep that authenticity there. Hey, you made a typo. If you didn't like it, just delete it.
Yeah.
But see, me, I don't. It depends on. Yeah. So. Well, I try to be fair. I try to be about the game of ball, and Keith know that, man. Keith.
Sure do. Absolutely.
All right. Well, y'all want to tell everyone how they can follow you on social media?
Go ahead, Joel.
At J Hillsman. That's what it is. At J Hillsman. Hillsman heavy hits every Tuesday. So, that's what it is. And try to get game scores and let other people and coaches know, how the teams and players are doing. So at J Hillsman.
Okay. Excuse me, at Bracket Sage for Twitter. You can check out our content that we put out on the On the Radar website, which is obviously a huge part of what I do. And of course, on-site stuff for the high school, and then of course in the spring and summer, on-site stuff, workout visits, just like we did with DT and Zaytoven and a lot of other teams this spring and summer. And yeah, check us out. Keep tabs on the circuit, man. OTR is going places, and I'm super excited to be a part of it.
And OTR is the best out there, man.
Definitely is. Definitely the best out there. All right. Well, once again, this is your boy DT from DT Unfiltered Uncensored. I appreciate you checking out my show about Georgia high school basketball. You can follow me on all social media. You can follow my Twitch, my Twitter, my Facebook, my Instagram. I think Joel should get all that as well and comment on that. And you can go to my Instagram page. All you got to do is search DT_Unfiltered Uncensored. Go to my bio. Make sure you follow me. Then click my link and take you to my YouTube page and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Well, I got a lot of interviews with a lot of middle school talent, Joe. A lot of middle school talent. You may want to check out some of those interviews because these are some of the talented kids around the country, not just in Georgia. I got some in Chicago, some in North Carolina, some in Virginia, some in Delaware. I got them everywhere.
Will do. Will do.
All right. I appreciate everybody. Check us out. Until next time.
It's DT. You have just now listened to the most talked about podcast in the country. DT Unfiltered Uncensored. Thank you for tuning in and see you next time. Damn. DT.